It's the patient advocate. I'm out here trying to help you guys out, teach you guys as much as I can in this little craziness window we have to learn about this COVID-19, because we're all about to get tested, both healthcare providers and as a whole nation, because this is about to get ugly in the next 7 to 10 days. So like, subscribe, so you guys can see what's coming. I'm going to keep you guys updated. But today we're going to get right into this whole thing about lowering the curve. I know you guys have probably heard this and you're probably like, what the hell does lowering the curve even mean? So what that really means, you're going to see these pictures where you got one really sharp curve and then you got one lower curve. So what the sharp curve is your typical epidemic curve, where it's just multiplying about every 2 days, your number of cases is multiplying twofold. That's a straight logarithmic, straight up curve. And that's unmanaged, unabided. That's how fast it's going to go up. So it's just readily replicating throughout the community. It's spreading and no one's doing anything to stop it. So it's just going to keep going. You might have, say, 1,000 cases one day. 2 days later, you're going to have 2,000 cases. 2 days from that, you're going to have 4,000 cases. 2 days from that, you're going to have 8,000 cases. 2 days from that, you're going to have 16,000 cases. 2 more days, 32,000. And it just keeps going up at that level. And that's the epidemic curve that we do not want happening. So the whole reason for all this crazy stay-at-home, social distancing, social isolation, whatever you want to call it, that's trying to, we call it mitigate. And this is the mitigation phase of an epidemic where we've already given up on stopping it. We can't stop this. It's going to spread everywhere at this point. That's what a pandemic does. There is no stopping a pandemic. So it's coming. It is coming. We can't do anything about it. But if we distance ourselves, we don't get in close quarters where this COVID-19 can spread easily, it slows down. You see that happening in South Korea. You see it eventually when China really locked everything down. That curve goes up and then it starts to it doesn't show it until about 14 days later, 10 to 14 days later, sometimes a little more. But then it starts to level off and it peaks off and then it tapers and it goes across. So that's what we want. And if we distance ourselves from everybody, it's not going to be pretty, but it's going to be a lot of people that are going to struggle financially and just across the board. Good thing there's some stimulus packages coming down the pipe, but that's a whole nother ballgame. Biggest thing, lowering the curve. So what that does, we distance ourselves, the spread doesn't keep happening. That twofold every 2 days exponential growth stops because people are distancing themselves. You're not readily at school, at work, at restaurants, at bars, at games, and anything like that. So malls, all that stuff. So when you take that stuff away, people are distanced away from people, therefore stopping that immediate spread. It's not a foolproof plan. It's still going to spread. The spreading is not going to stop, but it will slow down. So instead of it going from 2,000 one day to 2 days later being 4,000, it may go from 2,000 one day to 2,300 or 2,500. So you're going to get a 500 increase instead of 2,000 increase. It may not sound like a lot, but when you see that on the graph, and the biggest thing that this does prevent is hospitals being totally overwhelmed. And that's the next big problem that all of, I call it my family, my people I work with, my coworkers, as a healthcare worker, we have capacities. Now, in this time prep status, We're trying to elevate our capacities. We're trying to increase every aspect that we can hold inside hospitals, increase ICU beds, increase ventilatory care, put people in ORs that would normally be in an ICU. So you shut down the ORs, the operating rooms, and you turn those ORs into ICU beds. You put, whether it's the anesthesia ventilatory system in there, or you have other vents you can bring in there, use those as ICUs. Sometimes we can use regular floors. That's us as a healthcare system trying to elevate our capacity to help get more people under that curve. So if that curve goes above our capacity, more people will die. The death rate goes up because we can't do everything we would normally do. If our vents are maxed out and you got 20 more people that need to be admitted, and you have 4 more people that need to be put on a vent that day, and you don't have any vents, then you got to start picking and choosing, which is something no provider wants to be in. Nobody wants to be in that situation where you have to choose between a 60-year-old healthy person or a 72-year-old person or a 50-year-old person with a couple issues. That's not something anybody wants to be put in the spot to make that decision. Who lives and who dies. That's what they're having to do over there in Italy right now. It's ugly, and that's why their death rate is so much higher than the rest of the world, because they're maxed out. They are squeezing at the brim, and they're struggling. They're getting some help, but that's why their numbers look so bad. Lots of elderly over there too, but when your hospital systems are maxed out, a lot more people die because you can't take care of them. And we can max out just like any other country. We have limited capacities too. We're not any better than these countries. So if we don't take heed and use these times right now to distance ourselves and slow this spread down, it's going to be bad in about 10 days anyway, but it will get so much worse. So much worse. Scary worse. So it's hard to picture exponential growth. Like when you think of normal things, it's not something that's easy to picture because it's complex, but it's just, we got to do it, guys. We got to get this right, because everybody's family is going to suffer. It's not just one city. This is going to take over the whole country. It's not one state's problem. It's not New York's problem. It's not California's problem or Washington's problem. This is an American problem, and all of us are going to feel this in the next 2 weeks. It's going to be that first wave. And if we're not serious about what we're doing right now, and we don't really hunk down and make this work and follow the guidelines, or even more than the guidelines, that second wave can be even worse. Lowering the curve. Got to do it. Got to do it.